Right. I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone. Cut the music down just a little bit, so bear with us as we cut it down just a little bit. But just want to welcome everybody. This is Bernard Dean from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm happy to be back with you. As you notice, I've been gone for about 3 months to South Africa. What a absolutely beautiful, eye-opening trip South Africa happened to be. The one thing I have to tell everybody on here, if you've never planned a trip to South Africa, please, you need to go to South Africa, and especially Cape Town. Absolutely beautiful. So we're going to be starting in a couple of minutes, but we welcome you. If you have not called your people, we recommend that you call your people to invite them to this all-important call. We're going to be talking about a lot of people are on medications, aren't they? And they got so many side effects going on that it's just crazy how it's affecting people's health. Well, does micronutrients take the side effects out of side effects? That's what we're going to be talking about for the next hour. So in about 60 seconds or so, we're going to be getting started. So we're going to invite everyone to please invite your people. If you don't invite them, that's an injustice. Because when I was in South Africa, I found that these were some of the most effective, wonderful products that I've ever introduced to a country. A lot of people had a lot of challenges there, and especially side effects actually from medications and all. But when they started taking engaged global products, and I concentrated on basically 4 different products, the Micro Daily, I concentrated on the CBD, I concentrated on the probiotic, and the collagen. And I'm telling you, it turned some people's lives around. The only thing is that we're not there. And of course, we're promoting and still really making sure the word get out right here in the United States. So again, we want to welcome you. I see people are from so many different states. And there's going to be an incredible program today. So make sure you be prepared to take notes so you can share it with your customers all around the United States. So again, thank you so much for coming. But we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a of information today. Have any of you ever went to doctors and got medications? And we really appreciate our doctors. It's wonderful to have people that will help us with our health challenges. But along with those medications that are recommended, a lot of us receive a lot of side effects. And the big question that people wonder is the risk of the side effects worth actually buying the medication and taking the medication? Well, we're not, there's going to be information today that's going to help you appreciate that we're fully supportive of our doctors, and they're doing a wonderful job. But the big question is, how does micronutrients take the side effects out of the side effects? So we're going to go ahead and introduce our host for the day, which is going to be Jonathan Jones. Jonathan and I have actually known each other for about 45 years. And I have to tell you, everything that Jonathan has ever told me about when it comes to health, I've listened to him, and it's caused me to really have a good health situation in my senior citizen moments. So I want to thank you, Jonathan, for being here for me, being here for my family. And I believe that all 31 devices that's on right now, I believe we're going to have quite an increase over a period of time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and immediately turn our program over to Jonathan. Let's give him a warm welcome as he helps us to appreciate how micronutrients take the side effects out of side effects. Jonathan, you have our full attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bernard. And welcome back. We've missed you now. We missed you, but we know you were getting some really good things done, and we know your family and Shelly's family certainly appreciated your being there and giving them some good attention. So good for them. It was a big hole for us, but certainly good for them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Your warm and heart-rending introduction, and welcome back. So you heard what Bernard said. We're talking about taking the side effects out of side effects today. And so some of you might even be saying, is that even possible? And I have to say that it is kind of hard to believe. It's hard to even imagine it. And I'm real curious as to what Dr. Prasad is going to say. We got a couple of testimonials that we want to share with you. And Dr. Prasad is going to break it down for us because this man understands science, medicine, the effectiveness of medicine, but the effectiveness of micronutrients. So he's been referred to as the godfather of micronutrients. So we can fully expect that he's going to enlighten us and give us some things that we probably have never heard before. So, and even if it's some of the things that we have heard before, no question about it, it's going to make a difference in your life and someone that you care about. Before we begin, we got to make sure that you understand that these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. What we're saying is for information, educational purposes only. We strongly recommend that you seek the competent medical advice of professionals that you trust. Take this information into consideration when making decisions about your health and your well-being, keeping in mind that doctors across the board, each time I interview any of them, they all say the same thing. They want their patients to be mentally and emotionally involved in their well-being. They don't want their doctor to be solely responsible for their health care, but they do want you to be compliant. And they want you to take a mental and active role in that. So what we're doing is giving you options and giving you an opportunity to share in what the doctor is trying to do for you. So, there's so much talk about AI. So I went to AI and just asked it a question about micronutrients and are there any side effects of not having micronutrients? And it interpreted my question it changed the question to say, explain the devastating consequences of micronutrient deficiencies. And I said, okay, well, that's a good way to put it. Tell me that. And it said, I said, give me three devastating consequences of not having micronutrients or micronutrient deficiencies. And here's what it said. I'm just going to read it word for word for you. Number one, birth defects. And it described in detail what happens as far as micronutrient malnutrition. And it says it can lead to serious birth defects. Second, serious consequence of micronutrient deficiency, cognitive ability. It says micronutrient malnutrition can lead to an undeveloped cognitive ability. The third one, maternal and infant deaths. Severe micronutrient malnutrition contributes to maternal and infant deaths. And before I got into that, it said that, and when I asked it about this whole thing about micronutrients affecting side effects, it said that it's referred to, often micronutrients are referred to as vitamins and minerals, and they're vital, it says, to healthy development, disease prevention, and well-being. This is the answer I got from artificial intelligence. This is Chat AI. It says, with the exception of vitamin D, micronutrients are not produced in the body and must be derived from diet. And as we know, we're not getting it as much as we need from diet. So that's the reason why we think that this subject is vitally important. But I'm going to share one story with you. And this is not by any means the only story that we're going to share. And then we're going to introduce Dr. Prasad to our discussion. But this story is told by Iris. Iris explains what her situation is. She explains that she's suffering from, she's being treated for cancer, she said. So that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear her describe what happens to her cancer, but then you're also going to hear her describe what happened to her body. What happened to her body when she added micronutrients to the regimen. She took all the treatment that she was recommended to take, but she added micronutrients to the equation. So just listen here. Let's see what Iris has to say. See if I can get the right video to play here. We're in a new place now, by the way, folks, and I've almost got things set up. So we have some fairly decent internet. So it doesn't mean my computer's going to work right, but the internet's a little bit better, a little more stable now. So I should have less crashes and burns going forward. Of course, I'll probably crash and burn right now because I'm telling you this. But let's see what happens. Looks like it's actually trying to come up. So give it a second. And let's give it some volume now. Micro daily makes any treatment better because it protects the good cells and makes the bad cells more susceptible to the treatment. So I think each person make a decision as to how they want to approach it. And I'd love to hear what what kind of results Iris has, because it may help somebody make a decision.
Yep. Here's Iris's.
Most of you know that I did have cancer. I think it was 2018. And I met I've been knowing Mr. Lewis for a long time. But then, she had introduced me to the micro daily. So with God in prayer and Miss Levette, I decided that I would go ahead on and take the micro daily. And I did it before I had surgery. So I needed to get it in my system. So once I got it into my system, when I had my surgery, I did not have any pain. I did good. Then after that, I did 8 rounds of chemo. And chemo it's poison. It's a lot of poison that's going inside. Okay, didn't get sick one day because I was constantly taking my micro daily, constantly. Then I did 33 rounds of radiation. Didn't get sick, didn't hurt. So now I'm on this thing called tamoxifen. It's the pills after cancer, and one of the side effects is the bones. I should be aching all over. But because, God has prepared me along with Ms. Levette to be great, of course, he allowed me to not have any pain whatsoever. And I go around, I talk to my clients about, a lot of them have blood pressure problems, all of these different problems. I'm like, you know what? I had cancer. And this micro daily, it attacked that cancer. And I tell you, I'm just grateful. And that's my testimony.
Well, Jeff,
There you have it. I mean, she's been through it. I mean, I just love her comment right there at the end. Hey, you guys that have these other little, these stupid things going on.
You got blood pressure. I had cancer.
I had cancer. So
I love what she said as well, because we ought to take responsibility for this temple that God.
Okay, well, there you heard it. So that's Iris's story. I hope you guys were able to hear it okay. It sounded a little bit shaky on my end. But okay, well, Bernard says it was a thumbs up. So that's good. That means that you heard it just fine. So that's good. So Iris tells her story. And she says that she took the treatment that she was recommended by her doctor. And she said she had none of the side effects that she would ordinarily have. Being treated for the condition that she said she was being treated for, you would expect some pretty severe side effects and some pretty serious consequences to that. But in her case, she said she had a good outcome. She had a very good outcome, and we're happy to hear that. So that kind of lays the foundation for our discussion this afternoon, this evening, depending on where you are. And again, we welcome everyone to our discussion. So as you can see, our theme is micronutrients, taking the side effects out of side effects. And I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a question mark or an exclamation mark, but you can change it to whatever you want. And because some people have a question about it, other people are emphatic about it. And we got a live current story that's going to share her story toward the end of our discussion. But we'd like to get a few comments from Dr. Prasad as we move forward in this presentation. And keep in mind, when you hear testimonials are purely anecdotal. So even the testimony we just heard from Iris, results are atypical. What happens to one person may or may not happen to you. Engage makes no claims that microdaily will treat or cure any disease state. We strongly recommend that you seek the competent medical advice of professionals that you trust. That having been said, it's my pleasure to introduce to our discussion Dr. Kedar Prasad. Dr. Prasad was professor of medicine for 30 years at the University of Colorado. He was also the former president of the International Society of Cancer and Nutrition, the member of the British Society of Medicine Nobel Peace Prize nominating committee. That's huge. We really could just almost erase everything else and just put that there, and that would establish the value of this gentleman being a part of our discussion and help everyone to understand that this is not a normal conversation, and nor is anything he formulated normal by any stroke of the imagination. He was the world's first radiation biology PhD, awarded 7 US patents on micronutrients. He discovered the anti-cancer potency of vitamin E succinate. He also discovered that butyric acid, small fatty acid formed by fermentation of fibers in the gut, is an anti-cancer agent. Dr. Prasad is the author or co-author of some 32 books, currently working on his 33rd, and he's been published more than 250 times in peer review publications. This is just a snapshot of some of the books that he's authored or co-authored, and this is the latest one. We'd like to invite you to take a screenshot here and follow that QR code. It'll take you straight to his latest book on dementia, memory loss, how to prevent and improve treatment. It's an educational book written for the public. It provides easy to follow guidelines on how to avoid the risk of memory loss. This book also provides recent information on how to reduce the risk of memory loss and how to improve current drug treatment with the help of micronutrients. And you'll also, if you're wise, you'll go ahead and grab that book on cancer on Amazon while you're there. And there's a few others there too. There's one on diabetes and others. So just search for the rest of his books, but highly recommend that you get the latest one there on memory loss and dementia. It's a serious subject, especially for any of us who are in the senior category or expect to reach the senior category. So you might want to go ahead and make sure that you do that. So that kind of brings us to our discussion then. Micronutrients, taking the side effects out of side effects. So if we can do this, can we bring Dr. Prasad into our discussion? So I'd like to just welcome Dr. Prasad to our discussion, and thank you very much for joining us. Does Dr. Prasad have the ability to unmute? Let's make sure Dr. Prasad can unmute himself. Okay, there we go. There we go. So now I think we can actually add Dr. Prasad to the screen as well. Welcome, Dr. Prasad. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Nice to hear from Bernard after his pleasant trip to South Africa.
Yeah, he was just slacking off over there in South Africa. So nice finally.
Yeah, while we are working here.
Yeah, we're working like dogs over here. He's over there just, chasing waterfalls. So Dr. Prasad, you heard Iris describe her story there with cancer. Can you tell us, I have several other medications I want to run by you, but could you tell us about her encounter there with being treated for cancer, sir?
But first, I would like to know what kind of doses she was taking. Do you know?
Her doses of micro daily was, she was taking either double or triple the normal amount.
Oh, so she was taking a high dose.
Oh, yes, sir. She was on therapeutic doses.
Yeah.
About it.
So here is the experimental fact. And that has been done, and I have published several papers on this issue. And that high dose of antioxidant, which will be if you take it 3-4 times of a preventive dose, instead of 6 capsules, you might take 24 or 27 capsules a day. So what the data is experimented there suggests that high dose of antioxidant kill cancer cell, but not normal cell. That's one. And second thing is that cancer cell, the high dose antioxidant, and the reason they do it, because they prevent the uptake of 2 important nutrients that cancer cell must have to survive. One of them is glucose, another is glutamine. If you deprive them with one or both, they will die. So then I when I was looking the literature, I said, can high dose antioxidant does the same thing? Then I indeed found out in the published information by somebody else that indeed high dose antioxidant will prevent the entry of glucose and glutamine, and therefore cancer cell die of starvation. Now, when you talk about the toxicity, as you know, radiation kills both normal cell and cancer cell. Chemotherapeutic agent kills more normal cell than cancer cell. But high dose antioxidant will enhance the effect of chemotherapy and radiation therapy on cancer cell, but might protect or don't have any significant effect on normal cell.
Wow.
So in that case, this is what she was observing. And even after surgery, for example, when you are surgically, tumor is removed, then you have to issue up the rate of healing process, because sometimes your normal tissue gets, during surgery, some inflammation occurs and can get damaged. And so she also got protected from not a side effect, but at least probably healed rapidly after surgical procedure, so that she can receive now chemotherapy, because generally it's surgery first, followed through chemotherapy and radiation.
Right.
And she looks like she got a lot of radiation, several, 28 or some phenomenal amount, or 33. But anyway, so this is the mechanism of protection, because all those agents will cause damage by free radical inflammations on a normal cell, be protected from those kind of damage. But cancer cell not, because cancer cell is relying on glucose and nutrient, and high dose antioxidant block it. So they die of starvation. And this process, high dose antioxidant do not affect normal cell, so they don't get affected by this kind of situation, and they get protected, or in this case, got protected, no further damage.
Now that's the key word that you just said there, Dr. Prasad, that I want everybody to underscore, because they may not have heard it. Some people get caught up in the excitement of the testimonial itself, and then they fall off in the explanation. But did I hear you just say that micronutrients in the right combination, antioxidants, have a protective ability against the good cells while this toxin is in the body?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Protects the good cells.
Yeah, it protects the good cell, or they are not from the damage. Yeah, so they look the same as before. Yeah, it protects it. And I have published a paper with vitamin E succinate, and it is true for the criteria of chromosomal damage. We saw that normal cell got protected, but cancer cell was not protected. As a matter of not only protected, but enhanced their effectiveness.
That's beautiful.
So this is important from cancer point of view, but also I want to mention that once you get for example, are feeling good, and suppose you are free of disease, and then you want to say, I want to go to preventive dose because it is too much cost.
Right.
Cost more. Do so gradually. Because if you suddenly go to, say, you were taking a 24 capsule a day, and suddenly you go to, next day you go to 6 capsule a day, your body will feel as if it has a deficiency. So you will suffer the effect of micronutrient deficiency, and you don't feel good about it.
So the body will think it's in malnutrition.
Yes, for a while. And therefore I always suggest them that you do it gradually. Gradually means, suppose you were taking it 24, 2 capsules a day reduces, one from the morning, one from the evening for 1 week, then 2 another week. This way you gradually do it within a month period of time. And then the body gets adjusted to, again, new phenomena, not suddenly, sharply.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining that. Well, we started out with the hard one right there, cancer, and I don't even think we need to show you the rest of these, because if micronutrients, we're not talking about microdaily, we're just talking about micronutrients. If micronutrient can have that kind of an effect on cancer treatment, then everything else I'm about to show you is a walk in the park. So maybe if you would just give us a brief explanation of these drugs, here's a whole list because I just asked artificial intelligence. I said, could you just tell me the top 10 most prescribed drugs? And it only had up until 2021. And this is the 10 that it came up with. And it gave a little bit of an explanation on each one of them. There's one there for lowering cholesterol. For thyroid. And the next one is high blood pressure. And another one for type 2 diabetes, and angina. And I mean, so it gives a whole list of it. But maybe just the first 3 or 4 of them, you could just tell us a little bit about them.
I mean, atorvastatin, which is a form of a Lipitor, is a very well known to reduce the cholesterol level.
Right. So this is like the number one.
But its side effect is, I'm just talking of the atorvastatin.
Yeah.
Which is also called Lipitor.
Lipitor. So this is the number one most prescribed drug in 2021.
Yeah, it is. But what happens that it is very good for cholesterol lowering. But what happens if you take it to higher dose, then it is in the same pathway. In other words, cholesterol is in the same pathway as coenzyme Q10. So if you inhibit cholesterol, you will also inhibit coenzyme Q10. And as you know, coenzyme Q10 is required for mitochondria to generate energy. So your level of, so you may not feel as energetic as you feel earlier before taking atorvastatin. And therefore, either supplement with at least coenzyme Q10 or microdaily have a coenzyme Q10, and then you don't suffer that.
Wow. Right. Is that the reason why this issue with muscle? Because I had one client.
Well, muscle diarrhea, constipation, I don't know. But I don't think so. But there are some of the things, and some people also claim that it is a transient memory loss occurs as well in some cases.
Wow.
But the thing is that if it is important for your heart disease,
right?
So when you take it, take it. For example, start with a doctor. Ask the doctor. Consult with your cardiologist. That 40 milligram listed versus 20 milligram, there is no difference. And, some people who have high cholesterol take only 10 milligram.
So they can take a small,
they can ask the doctor. Cholesterol, you don't want to have it, but suppose if your doctor recommended 40 milligram and now your cholesterol is down, ask doctor, can I reduce to 20 milligram?
Right.
Follow it. Again, gradually. And then and if it's 20 milligrams is sufficient for you, for example, for my wife, 10 milligram is enough. So the more dose you take, the more chances of side effects are there. So it is better to keep in consultation with your doctor, start whatever doctor has said it, because suppose your cholesterol is 300, you want to have a high dose, 40 milligram. And then say when it drops down to a normal level, then you say, doctor, I know, I want to see what you think of reducing the dose to 20 milligram. Let us, as a patient, you have a right to ask questions.
My mother-in-law has been being reduced. She's 92 years old, and her doctor is reducing all of her medication. She's down to almost nothing now on most things. But what about this one right here now for hyperthyroidism?
Yeah, hypothyroidism, again, there is no adverse interactions. And these thyroxine, people who have a thyroid problem, they routinely indicate it. But sometimes people claim it makes them tired and so on. But my thing is that at least there is no adverse effect.
That's the thing.
Therefore, in other words, there is no counter interaction between the micronutrient and thyroxine, levothyroxine. And so if doctor has recommended it, you should take it because you have a thyroid problem, and I have no problem. And again, just like if the thyroid is working normal, all the tests that you do working normal, you can ask your doctor, can we reduce the dose?
That's it. And I hope everybody heard it, because this is one of the things Dr. Prasad had to prove to the military, that there were no contraindications. But once again, he mentioned there's no contraindication with micronutrients. And this is the number 2 most prescribed drug, no contraindications.
Yeah.
What about this one?
This is a lisinopril. I have heard it is a
ACE inhibitor. So this is for high blood pressure and
blood
says
pressure
heart
money.
rate.
Same thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Some people use some other one, Diovan, HCT, this
Right.
kind of, Lasix sometimes use it to get rid of your water from your body. Some people accumulate.
I got you.
And so again, there is no counterindication in terms of micronutrient. And same principle apply here. Sometimes they give you high dose to start with if you have a problem. But like this thing is 10 milligram, I will follow doctor advice and then combine with micronutrient. Both will do beneficial effect. And if there is a potential, because some of these drugs can affect for intestinal flora. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is that some of these drugs, because I don't know detail about each drug, that also can create some oxidative stress.
Right.
And so and therefore, if all these potential side effects, micronutrient can prevent it or can at least reduce it. So taking these kind of drugs that you mentioned, there is no counterindication.
That's beautiful. Those are just words. That's music to my ears, Dr. Prasad. One for diabetes here. This is a very common one. Metformin or glucophage.
Yes. It is a very common one. This is the first line. First time you get diagnosed, they start you with metformin. And it is, sure enough, it is helpful in reducing the glucose level.
Yep.
But this compound, then after sometimes a year or two, you become resistant. Then they will keep increasing the dose of metformin. And then they will become resistant. Then they will pick up another drug, they will add it. So there are 6 different classes of oral drugs. Each work by different mechanism. But none of those drugs affects the oxidative stress and inflammation, which are causing the progression of the damage. So by forcing a glucose to be used, by asking pancreas to produce more and more, and sometimes even though your insulin receptor is damaged, for example, but if there is enough insulin produced, then you can pass the glucose by diffusion. So this has all diabetic drug, metformin, or for that matter, insulin in case of diabetes 1.
Yeah.
They have all good prolonged the quality of life. No question about it.
Right.
However, still many of the people, despite of medication, taking a multiple, because one becomes drug, then you have second class, then you third. So end up 5-6 drugs at a time.
That's right.
Despite that, many people develop a complication like a retinopathy, eye problem.
Kidney problems.
Kidney problem is the major one. But in 2009, there were, I think, 50,000 people who had amputation.
That's right.
And so these things are very important. So my metformin is, again, if anything, it will maintain the efficacy of metformin, so that you don't have to increase the dose.
And maybe even make it work better.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because in combination, because they will be working on one way, reducing oxidative stress and inflammation, and this is working by different way to facilitate the glucose metabolism. So I think if you have diagnosed earlier, you say this month, and you started in a micronutrient, and then really you won't develop a resistance. This is my prediction, that based on science, that you will stay on a low dose of metformin that you started with, without requiring additional 3-4 different class of drugs.
That's huge. Dr. Prasad, my sister was just here over the weekend, and she says that I got her started finally on Micro Daily on a regular basis for about the past 3 or 4 years or so. She's insulin dependent, brittle diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
And she says now she's taking almost no insulin. She's down on very low amounts of insulin. So it's improving across the board. Everything.
Yeah, and this is thing that because you block the events, like oxidative stress and inflammation, and therefore it is not progressing. And then your doctor will start reducing the insulin dose or any kind of medication you are taking it. Otherwise, if they don't reduce it, it becomes hypoglycemic, and that is dangerous. You can faint. You can
Wow.
get
That's right.
in coma. So it is so the doctor and patient knows it when they measure it, whether if the glucose level goes around 50, 60, you should immediately see the doctor.
Right.
So again, this kind of thing is a very good one. So no matter what stage of the you have, and no matter what kind of drug you are taking for controlling diabetes, micronutrient will always help.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. And I think it should give hope to anyone who's on this meeting and listening to this discussion right now that no one is recommending that they replace their doctor or anything else with this, but you're finding out that they can improve the effectiveness of their medication and potentially see a lessening of the side effects.
Exactly.
At the same time. And we got one more that I want you to comment on. And we've got a very amazing testimonial that we want to share in connection with this one. Methimazole, I think is what it's the way it's pronounced. And this is an anti-thyroid medication, and it's used to treat hyperthyroidism. So this is an overactive thyroid gland. And Dr. Prasad, it says that the common side effects include just some of the most uncomfortable things.
I know.
So rash, itching, nausea, vomiting, upset stomach, changes in taste. They could even have joint pain, hair loss, drowsiness, and headache. So can we share with you one of the testimonials associated with this particular application right now?
Yes.
Okay. And this is Elizabeth Henry. She's actually here with us right now. So we're gonna bring her up to the screen here and see if we can't get her to share her story with us. See if I can stop this screen share also.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Liz, thank you very much for joining us. Please tell us, we want to hear your story.
Okay. One of the things you mentioned, there are so many side effects. I was concerned about the one that affected my blood. As you all know, it reduced my white blood cell count to about 2.8. I'm concerned about that, of course, because if you don't have white blood cells, you can't fight infection. It also reduced my platelets. So if I got cut, I could bleed to death, my blood would not clot. And of course, it also affected my hemoglobin because even the red blood cells were affected. Those are just a few of the things that bothered me most. Of course, you can see I had thinning hair. It didn't grow very long, and it was getting really thin. I always had long hair. That was one of the things that was not so much a concern of mine. But I started taking Micro Daily. And I might add this, prior to that time, I had to take an expensive natural blood builder. It's called Karura syrup from Costa Rica. It's quite expensive, and I'm a widow, so I really couldn't keep affording to buy it. So I stopped taking that. I tried to improve my diet. And when I got to taking Micro Daily, EMF, I was not using any of that at all. So after about maybe 2 months, maybe a month and a half, I had another appointment with my endocrinologist. And somewhere within that time period, all my blood numbers were normal, every single one. So I feel so much better. I don't worry so much now about getting an infection because my white blood cell count is where it should be. My hemoglobin is normal. The hematocrit is normal. My platelets are normal. So those are the side effects that I got rid of. And I might add that there probably are some other ones like this general feeling of unwellness. You just felt bad. My joints ached. I still have a bit of joint pain, but I'm doing the, I'm hoping that with the rest of the Micro Daily products, I will get better with that too. But I feel really good. My hair's growing. I feel really good.
Wow. That that is absolutely amazing. And we applaud you on that one, Elizabeth. Thank you very much for sharing it. So Dr. Prasad, there it is. I mean, tell us what happened here. Is this fall into the same category of what you just mentioned about all the other ones?
Yeah, I think, I mean, this especially looks like this is the side effects of these things, since our blood and things are dying, must have an extreme high level of oxidative damage to various tissue and inflammatory damage. And therefore, white blood cells were going down because her bone marrow, which produces all those, must be very much affected to have a low white blood counts, and also that she got a anemia type, and hair loss. That means she was losing a lot of biotin. Loss of biotin is one of the nutrient is a cause of hair loss. Mm-hmm. And so I'm happy to see that. I didn't expect that this will have that kind of effects. But again, I'm happy to hear that micronutrient helped to reduce that damage, and now she feels very nice.
This is, I mean, I'm looking
again,
at this.
Micronutrient has no adverse effect. If anything, you can see the effect.
But look at this, Dr. Prasad. This is the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah.
That this information came from, and the U.S. National Library of Medicine. They don't mention anything here about white blood cell issues whatsoever, except that we have a living human being here who now declares that by adding your formula, micronutrients, to her diet, that it had an effect on her body when this is the disease that she was fighting.
It's amazing. Because see, most of the doctors don't even know what is oxidative ulcer inflammation and how it causes damage. That's the one problem.
Wow.
And so, and the doctor don't know that the micronutrient can downregulate or decrease the oxidative stress and inflammation. This is one of the central issue that they didn't learn it while they're in medical school. So I don't blame them, but it is the job of the patient to ask questions and take a non-toxic agents and keep him informed that this is what I'm doing. And so the doctor is aware that you are taking this kind of micronutrient, and whether you approve or not, this is upon you.
That's right.
But at least when you see the next time he saw your blood, so don't they ask what you are taking?
They do. Everybody says the same thing. Doctor says, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, and then you say, "Oh, I'm taking some vitamin." Okay, go on taking it. That's it.
That's good.
But which is good.
That's good.
That's good enough.
That's good. So folks don't have to be skittish about this, because I really want everybody to understand this. This is not medicine. So micronutrients is not medicine.
No.
This is the food that's missing from our food. This is the nutrients that we should be getting from our food. And if the food was as good as it used to be, we wouldn't need this. So this would be would not be a problem whatsoever. So just as a reminder, the FDA has not evaluated these statements. And you heard Liz Henry tell her story. Testimonials are anecdotal. Results are atypical. What happens to one person may or may not happen to you.
Right.
So Engage makes no claims that MicroDaily will treat or cure any disease.
Right.
So when it comes right down to it, then, Dr. Prasad, tell us a little bit why everyone who is on whatever medication they're on right now, why should they consider this bundle, this combination of micronutrients?
Well, first, what I would say, what is the minimum requirement if you are taking any kind of drug? It also depends upon your age, whether you are in a 18 or 35 age group, or whether you are 35 to 50 group, or whether you are 50 and older.
Right.
So it depends upon. But for example, for younger people, I would say, take Micro Daily. And if you have a stomach problem, then take a probiotics.
Right.
If you don't have a stomach problem, Micro Daily every day is sufficient for you. You are healthy. I'm talking about the normal, healthy
Yes.
person.
Yes.
And if you are between 35 to say 50, then you take micro daily. You take also collagen peptides, and you take probiotics. 3 must.
That's
And
right.
then if you have a suppose some or other reason, if you have pain, sleep disturbance, then take CBD. If you have some eye issue that you are developing or you think might have, it is all prevention,
That's right.
reducing the risk. And so then many people have, as you grow older, they have all kind of eye problem. But if you are taking all these things, then take an eye boost. And cognitive function is also important. There are 2 types of cognitive function decline. One is age-related,
Mm-hmm.
where you forgot once in a while name or place, and that is caused by damage to the synaptic structure of the neuron, which is totally different than Alzheimer's dementia, which is due to the loss of whole neuron, not just one component is synapses.
Yes.
Synapses is but people suggested in the literature that the age-related memory loss, which is reversible, is due to the damage to the synapse by oxidative stress. And so if you can prevent the oxidative stress, and those synapses also has a protein, they get turnover, they form new synapses and so on all the time. And so once you have protected them, then now new synapses come, they don't get damaged, and your memory improves. But Alzheimer's is totally different issue.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That makes perfect sense. And thank you very much for that breakdown. So, folks, what you want to do is get back with the person who invited you to this discussion, and they'll help you with that. I want to just share something with you to help you to understand a little bit how amazing Dr. Prasad's memory is. Dr. Prasad, the slides that I showed you, had you seen those slides before today?
Who?
The slides that I just showed you earlier that we just went through today. Did you see those slides?
No, I've not seen it, no.
So I just wanted to let them hear that from you. This is the first time Dr. Prasad saw those slides. So when we were going through those medications and things, he was giving information just based off the top of his head. That's just stuff that he, by the way, knows. Just so you know, I had to spend hours with artificial intelligence to just put it together. And it's, by the way, it's off the top of his head. So if you're wondering if he knows a little something about memory, I'd say at 88, he knows a little something about memory and memory loss. That's all I'm trying to say. So I'm just wanting everybody to kind of understand that. So I highly recommend that you get his book on dementia and memory loss. Take a screenshot. That QR code will take you directly to it. And you get back with the person who invited you to this discussion, and they will be able to help you set up your own wholesale account for this. Now, a question came in, Dr. Prasad. We're going to open up for just a couple of other questions. But someone raised a question: does your formula help with Candida?
What is? I don't even know what is.
Candida is a fungus.
Oh yeah, fungus. Well, no. There are very short-term acute effect antifungal drug. It is localized or internally. That's
a good question.
Yeah.
Most people who are suffering with Candida, every time I've heard of it, they're dealing with it. Yes, they're dealing with it systemically. So
systemic. Yeah. No, I think if it's systemic, first I would say you go to your doctor for advice, and there are some antifungal agents because this is acute effect.
Right.
And you take it, but also take micronutrient, because what fungi will do is normally fungi is present. I mean, in our the intestinal microorganism, you have a bacteria, you have a fungi, you have yeast, normally presented. So sometimes they, for whatever reasons, either the intestinal dysbiosis or something, they take it over, fungal growth. Mm-hmm. So for that, I would say that you must take probiotic. That's one. And second thing is that you must get what doctor advised you to medication and take micronutrient together. It will be okay after that.
Right.
Once this issue is resolved, then you can just have a micronutrient and probiotics and whatever else you want to have.
Makes perfect sense. And what about tinnitus? Now you wrote one of the patents that was issued by the United States government on your original formula included hearing loss. So someone just raised a question about tinnitus or tinnitus.
Yeah, tinnitus or tinnitus. Yeah, actually there was there also, as you know, this is one form of hearing disorders. There are several different types. This is one form. And most of them occurs, can you believe that there are 40 million Americans who have this problem, tinnitus? Most of them are veterans, musicians, high pitch, and sometimes it is as you grow older. And so there are very many regions, but all the regions, different regions, but the center that initiate that and maintain that is oxidative stress and inflammation. So there one audiologist in Nashville ran a clinical study among her patients. She was a private practitioner. And she recruited 70 people, and they have all various level of tinnitus. And she measured tinnitus quantitative measure before giving microdaily. At that time, microdaily EMF was not there. It was just the original microdaily. And they was not even methylated form. It was just the original one.
Yeah.
And ran experiment for 6 months. And she found that 70%, more than 70%, only in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, showed a marked improvement.
Wow. 6 months' time.
Yeah, another anecdotal story telling you with my previous company.
6 months' time. Go ahead.
Before all these testing occurs, my CEO of the company that we formed went to New Mexico to a farmer to raise some money. This was wealthy farmer. So he said, at that time, we didn't even test it in military, we just developed it. And so he said that, do you think your vitamin can help my wife? She can't hear it. But I told her, she called me and CEO called me. I said, just tell him, I don't know, but just try for 90 days. Because this is a slow effect, gradual effect improvement. So after 90 days or so, or more than that, he went to visit him again. And he said, how your wife is doing? He said, well, she's doing very well, but one problem. When I curse her, she understands it now.
So he was happy and disappointed at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow. So
that is very important. So, it is important that we also prove that anecdotal story in a clinical study, and it was published. We have published in a journal, audiology journal. And so it is, and this is a quantity, not just the subjective, how you feel. She was measuring, this woman was audiologist, she was measuring the, whatever way they measured the tinnitus level.
Wow. That's incredible. That's good to hear. No pun intended. What about leaky gut syndrome?
Yeah, leaky gut syndrome is it is surprisingly how many people have that leaky gut syndrome. And for that, I think, the probiotic dose we recommend generally for prevention 1, but for that kind of person, I would say take two capsules a day.
Okay.
And people have tried, for example, in a clinical study, the 2 strains that we have added in our probiotics.
Yeah.
One is Bacillus coagulant, and another is Saccharomyces boulardii. Those 2, one is yeast-derived, one is bacteria, and both individually have been tested in human with leaky gut, any kind of inflammatory disease, and they have proved very useful. But the inflammatory disease also, what inflammation says, a lot of inflammation going on in the gut, because it is a dysbiosis, turns in a favor of toxic bacteria, which is producing a lot of pro-inflammatory cytokines and damaging your intestinal tract and every place else. And so for that, I would say do it for 3 months and let us know how you feel.
Beautiful, beautiful. Good to
Together
hear.
with my EMF, we always say EMF.
Yeah, make sure they got EMF included in the conversation. One more question that came up was, what about esophageal reflux and Barrett's esophagus?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this Barrett's esophagus.
Yeah, but this is acidic type of environment. Acidic gut will do that.
Right.
And so I think if it is once in a while, this is okay. But if it is a serious issue, then you should consult your doctor. But micronutrient, you can always try, because maximum worst would be it has no effect.
Mm-hmm.
Best thing would be, because nobody has tried this under this condition, so I cannot
Right.
say. But I always say that it would not hurt you. If you are taking medication or not taking medication, but in this case also, I would say that this intestinal dysbiosis that we call, they also play a role in this kind of disorders, reflux. And so I would say that try it, and also try probiotics, good diet, and whatever doctor recommends it.
Right. Very good. Very good. Okay. I think that just about covers, I think, just about all of them. Bernard, did we get everybody that had a question covered? Because see, this is what you folks have heard here today, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful pieces of information that we've ever been able to wring out of Dr. Prasad. So folks need to know, understand clearly, he's never, ever indicated that these products would replace any medication, but he's always said that it helps the body do what the body is designed to do. And it turns out, for those who do apply this, who actually go to work using micronutrients in their diet, they find themselves suffering less and having a better quality of life.
Exactly.
And, that's what I think I appreciate the most about you, Dr. Prasad. I have to say, my wife and I say it all the time, that we don't know where we would be had we not stumbled across these products, and had Jeff Ashby not been stubborn.
Yeah, I mean, we all have to give credit to Jeff, because of his devotion and traveling 49 states. I don't think the message would have been as widely spread as we are spreading right now.
No.
So I think as long as people give me credit, or the David Namalka credit, yeah, but also the third person who deserves as much credit as we do is Jeff.
Well, that man sat there in front of my house. He sat there in front of my house when I was being rude and saying, "Look, I only have 19 minutes. 19 minutes. You got to leave."
Yeah,
because I had too much to do and too important. But this was
exactly.
Pieces of information.
I mean, that's the reaction people give. If you go someplace, you say, yeah. And that's why I say sometimes, that that we have a science brochure. Suppose if you want to approach a doctor or the head of the retirement community or church or any big organization, they will not allow you to come. As soon as you say name vitamin, I want to talk. You say, no, I'm not interested.
No, they don't want to hear that.
But if you send a science brochure there, that they might flip over, and as soon as they see military, oh, let me see some more. Might That's be. Right. I'm just making a suggestion. That might be a very good way of attracting those kind of people. Then they will say, maybe you can come and give us a talk to us. You see what I mean? Then for you or any Bernard can go and talk as good as anybody.
And that's exactly right. And that's exactly what we're doing. So, because we're not biting our tongue about this one. So we're expecting to get the word out. And I'm telling you here today, for everyone to hear it, we're going to be targeting some medical professionals. So I'm going to be working to organize a conference. So if any of you know medical professionals, we'll let you know when it's arranged. But we are going to be scheduling a medical conference, and they're going to be able to get continuing education credits.
Right.
Discussions.
Yeah, I think that would be a very good way of doing it. And then we can have a Zoom call anytime any of you wants me on a Zoom call, and I look my calendar, and then if it's open, then I say yes.
Well, we're working on it. Bernard's got another question for us here. Okay. So since he flew all the way back from South Africa, we'll let him get his question.
He looks same.
Dr.
Yeah,
Prasad,
he
thank you.
actually looks a little bit better to me. I don't know.
Well, my wife think I'm just as good looking as before I left.
That's right.
So I think Jonathan needs my boost. So let's go. I'm going to yield to my wife first because she has a question, and then I just want to make a cocoon comment because we're at 6:01. So if you can, please. I just sent you the personal question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Good question here, Dr. Prasad. What about levothyroxine?
That's what we. Yeah.
That has to do with the thyroid goiter.
Yeah. Or the increasing size.
Yeah. Is that the medication itself, or is that the condition?
I think this is a condition. I think some people have. I forgot it because maybe the excess of iodine or some. I have not read very much. I can read it a little more. But even in India, some people have a big hair lump.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is that the at least for short term, high dose antioxidant is worth trying it to see if it regresses. Nobody has done the experiment on this issue. So because tissue modification is occurring with micronutrient, you saw that some people have an overgrowth in some place and they subsides.
Right.
Any place you have abnormal growth, not cancerous, but abnormal non-cancerous growth.
Yes. Yes.
I think like a cyst, nose cyst, breast cyst, many type of cyst. The antioxidant has been very useful. And so I would suggest that she could try, say, 3 times a day, micro daily EMF with, probiotics and collagen, and then see how she does any better. Otherwise, consult your doctor.
That's it. That sounds like a solid advice to me. So very good.
Yeah, it is, it looks not pretty, but it is not life-threatening.
Not
so,
life-threatening.
Yeah, you can wait a month or 2 and then go to the doctor if it doesn't subside.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so there you have it, folks. And
wait a minute, Jonathan. I just have one more thing.
Go ahead.
Something that was something I appreciate. I think everybody on here need to understand is you notice that in this whole discussion, there was never a promise that all of your condition will be eliminated.
Yeah.
It's saying that it would reduce at the least whatever we're going through. And sometimes when you're introducing these products to people, some people come along and say it doesn't work. And I want to give you one experience that's about 1 minute. I had a person that was 84 years old that was walking with a cane, bent over, and they started on the products, and after about maybe 3 months, I'll never forget this. He called me one day and he says, "I'm out of water. I don't feel like going out. Could you bring me water?" So I carried some water over to the apartment, senior citizen place, and I'm standing over in my car. This person comes out the door. He's looking to the right and left, trying to find me. And he walks down the street real fast. He walks back. And then I'm just looking at him. I decided to just watch him. So anyway, we got the water, gave it to him. Now, I'll never forget, about 3 weeks later, he called me up and says, I'm gonna have to cancel these products because it don't work. And he didn't know that I saw him go up and down the street for the first time without a cane. So sometimes people will tell you that they are not getting improvements because they don't really notice themselves. So a little bit later on, by the way, I told him about it. He came off of it, and in about 3 or 4 months, well, not even 3, maybe 2 months, he started calling me, begging me to bring him back on to a auto ship situation because he said he didn't realize how well the product was working. So I really appreciated today that you brought out the point of don't expect miracles because it takes 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years to get to where we are. But if people get just a little improvement on the end of life, just a little improvement that makes life a little bit more tolerable day by day. It's amazing what these products will do. So that's why I'm just surprised it's so few people on here, because right now people all over the United States are hurting and they need these products. Get your family, your friends, people you care about. Of course, people you don't care about, it's up to you whether you invite them, but get them on these calls every Sunday at 5 o'clock. And I promise you, some people are going to try it and it's going to change their life. That's my point, John.
That's absolutely right. Thank you very much, Bernard. And you heard it straight from our South African veteran. And now you see Dr. Prasad. You've had a chance to hear Dr. Prasad with this amazing discussion about side effects. And Dr. Prasad, we can't thank you enough for making yourself available. And next week, we're just going to have a very brief discussion about micronutrients, but it's going to be in the context of the owner and CEO of the company, David Namelka. So he's going to be joining us next week. So if you have anybody who's sitting on the fence and wondering whether or not this is an opportunity, you want to get them here next week on Sunday. Then the last Sunday of the month, Dr. Prasad, we're going to be talking about detox and Herxheimer effect. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this whole detox thing, because I get so many people, oh, I got a headache. Oh, I got a this. Oh, I got a that. It must not be working for me. So we're going to be talking about some detox reaction from Micro Daily. But everybody, you can unmute now. And thank you again.
Jonathan, remember, new product released tomorrow. New product released tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
New product.
Hydro.
On tomorrow night. You want to hear tomorrow night's discussion, special announcement tomorrow night. Absolutely.
All right,
Welcome
All
back,
right,
Dean.
everybody.
Thank you, Dr.
It's
Prasad.
good to be back.
Thank you,
Dr.
Liz.
Prasad.
Prasad, I look forward to seeing you in Mexico. Mexico.
Thank you, Bernard.
You owe me.
Are you
You
doing
owe me,
the,
Dr.
Thank you,
Prasad.
Jonathan.
meeting tonight?
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Thank you, Bernard.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Are you
Bernard.
doing a business meeting?
Welcome back, Sherry.
Hi, everybody.
Jonathan, are we going to have a business meeting? That's what somebody just asked.
Next Sunday is our business meeting.
Okay then.
Thanks.
But anybody in my
Goodbye.
group?
Welcome back, Brother Bernard.
Anybody in my
It's
group?
good to be back. Good to be back. I'm so happy on those.
Presentation
Awesome see you.
Tuesday.
See you, Bernard.
Business training
Get in my
Thursday.
network. You know my number. Give me a call
Friday.
afterwards. I'm going on my call afterwards. So any my network that's on here, we're going on our call so I can talk to you a little bit afterwards.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a good night, everyone.
On your Zoom.
Good night, everyone.
On my Zoom, I'll be on there 3 minutes after this.
Okay, who is that? Lady Grand.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Let's go.
Good night.
Oh, good to have you back, boy. Good night, everybody.
Daryl woke up.
Shirley. Good
Somebody
night.
woke up, Daryl.
Let's go.
I'm gonna be going up there.
Remember, next week, people, the owner's on here. You need to bring them. CEO is on next week. Let's get it filled up. Let's get it over 100 again.
Yo, we got to break 200 next week. So get the
Oh,
word
no,
out,
what
everybody.
200 then? Well, I know I'll have about 20, 30 on that.
And I gotta get them clothes out.
Get it. Go get it. Don't talk the talk. Walk the walk there, Timothy. You gotta walk the walk, baby.
Oh, I got them. I'm gonna bring them to you.
The product don't work while it's sitting on the table. You gotta get a glass of water and swallow it, brother.
I had someone that I talked to today, and I hope that they were on. They want to get it.
Excellent.
Both husband and wife.
Excellent.
Yes.
Keep presenting. You'll get there.
I
Good night,
will.
everybody.
Was she on?